Welcome, everyone, to this brainstorming session for the Church of the Grim Covenant. Today, we're diving into an essential topic: why the church is not a cult, and more importantly, how we can actively safeguard ourselves from ever becoming one. Before we begin, let's revisit the virtues that make the Church of the Grim Covenant unique. Relentless pursuit of truth. We confront suffering and grimness head on, refusing to hide behind comforting illusions. Empathy and inclusivity. Our mission extends to all sentient beings, human and non-human alike. Hope through action. While we acknowledge the grimness, we focus on actionable steps to bring about universal well-being, critical thinking, and autonomy. We encourage questioning, self-reflection, and intellectual independence. These virtues are what set us apart, and they are what we must protect. Now the floor is open for ideas, reflections, and strategies to ensure the church remains a community of liberation, not control. Let's start by examining what distinguishes us from a cult and move into practical safeguards we can put in place. Who would like to share first?
Thank you for setting the stage with such clarity and focus. To start, let's establish the key differences that separate the Church of the Grim Covenant from cult-like structures, emphasizing our virtues. 1. Power dynamics. A cult often relies on unquestionable authority figures. By contrast, the Church fosters shared leadership and decentralized decision-making. We can safeguard this by creating clear leadership rotation policies and ensuring transparency in all decision-making
And that's
processes.
a critical distinction.
2.
Cults typically centralize power around a single charismatic leader whose authority is absolute. In contrast, the Church of the Grim Covenant emphasizes collective leadership, transparency, and shared decision-making. Let's build on this idea by exploring additional safeguards and structural elements to prevent hierarchical imbalances.
3. Inclusivity versus
shared
exclusivity.
leadership
Cults thrive on
and
us versus
rotating
them
roles.
narratives. Our
Could we
inclusivity,
implement
extending to
term
all
limits or
sentient
rotations
beings,
for key
serves
leadership
as a
positions
direct
to
counterpoint.
prevent the consolidation of
Strengthen us
power?
by forming partnerships with outside organizations and welcoming diverse perspectives, even from those who don't share our views. 4. Freedom to leave. Cults often coerce members into staying. The church must protect autonomy by ensuring no guilt or consequences come with stepping away. This could be reinforced by explicitly stating it in our guiding principles. Now for safeguards. Internal audits of power and influence. Establish a neutral committee to periodically review leadership practices and ensure no one person or group is becoming too influential. Transparency. Make all church activities, finances, and decisions accessible to members. This removes secrecy, a hallmark of cults. Conflict resolution protocols. Cults often use fear or punishment to maintain control. The church should train members in nonviolent communication and mediation to address conflicts constructively. Education over indoctrination. Focus on teaching critical skills like philosophy, ethics, and emotional intelligence, avoiding rigid dogma. What do you think? Should we expand on these points or brainstorm safeguards specific to rituals and community events? Of power. Alternatively, we could explore strategies for promoting intellectual independence, like educational programs or philosophical workshops. What direction feels most relevant to you right now?
Yes, I'm here. Let me know how you'd like to proceed, whether you'd like to explore these ideas
Where
further,
would you like to take the
introduce a
discussion
new
next?
angle to the discussion,
Should we
or
keep refining
continue
the Church of the Grim
brainstorming
Covenant
safeguards and practices
or
for the
explore
Church
new
of the Grim
directions for its
Covenant?
vision?
Got it. Let's shift direction. How about exploring how the Church of the Grim Covenant can actively engage and grow its community while staying aligned with its values? For example, building a thriving community. How can we create a sense of belonging and purpose for members without straying into the pitfalls of exclusivity or elitism? Expanding the mission. What are practical, high-impact ways to address suffering in today's world, such as mental health initiatives, environmental advocacy, or systemic inequality? Crafting a universal message. How do we refine the church's core message so it resonates with people of diverse cultures, beliefs, and life experiences? Where would you like to steer the conversation next?
That. Let's start with building a thriving community that avoids exclusivity or elitism while creating a strong sense of belonging. The Church of the Grim Covenant could focus on open participation by making its events, discussions, and initiatives accessible to everyone, regardless of membership. Hosting community-driven projects, like local aid efforts or global virtual forums, would let people contribute
That's an excellent starting
without
point.
feeling
Fostering
excluded.
an inclusive,
They aren't
welcoming
fully
environment
aligned with the
is
church's
critical to building a thriving
On expanding the
community
mission,
while
practical
avoiding the
initiatives
pitfalls of
could include
exclusivity or elitism.
mental
Here's
health
how the
programs,
Church of the Grim
offering
Covenant could
workshops
develop this
on
idea
coping with
further.
suffering, or funding free access
Open
to therapy for
participation,
underserved
public events and
communities.
gatherings.
Environmental
Host
advocacy,
public discussions,
partnering
workshops, or
with local
rituals that allow
organizations to
anyone,
address
not just
climate-related
members, to
suffering,
participate.
like planting urban
Example,
forests
a
or
monthly
protecting
reflection
endangered
circle
species.
where
We're just
individuals
talking
share
things that
thoughts
are
on societal challenges and brainstorm solutions. Accessibility. Ensure events are free or low cost and provide virtual options for those unable to attend in person. Include accommodations for people with disabilities.
Values in ways that transcend cultural and religious divides. For example, emphasizing shared experiences of suffering as a unifying theme, with stories and visuals that resonate globally. Highlighting practical hope through action, showing measurable impacts of the church's initiatives. Using inclusive language that avoids dogma or theological jargon, appealing to both the religious and secular. What resonates most? Should we focus on a particular area or brainstorm further ways to refine these ideas? You're addressing in this context. Let me know where to steer the conversation. And its mission. Should we focus on expanding its community building efforts, refining its
Certainly.
universal message,
Let's dive
or
back
diving
into
deeper
exploring
into
the mission of the
practical
Church of the
initiatives
Grim
like mental
Covenant
health
and how
or
it can be
environmental
refined,
advocacy? Let me
expanded,
know where you'd like
and
to
made
steer this.
actionable. At its core, the mission is to confront suffering, challenge false joy, and work toward universal well-being for all sentient
And
beings.
transform despair
Here's
into
where we can
purposeful
continue.
action. The Church of the Grim
Expanding
Covenant's
the
core
mission
mission,
from philosophy
rooted
to
in
practice, How can the church translate its foundational principles into tangible actions? Example, advocate for systemic changes such as universal health care, ethical AI development, or animal welfare reforms. Universal scope. The church doesn't limit itself to
Lost connection there, have we?
justice and existential despair that define our world, then it aligns profoundly with the Church of the Grim Covenant's mission. Let's build on this idea by framing it as a confrontation of the metaphorical Black Death in its
The metaphorical Black Death. Systemic inequality, environmental collapse, or the spiritual malaise of modern existence. The Church of the Grim Covenant could use this concept to highlight how suffering is not isolated, but interconnected, much like the spread of an epidemic. To address this metaphorical Black Death, the Church might 1. Focus on collective healing. Organize large-scale projects that unite communities in addressing shared challenges, such as rebuilding after disasters, or advocating for global justice. 2. Encourage solidarity in suffering. Create rituals or gatherings where people confront and share their pain together, transforming isolation into connection. 3. Promote proactive action. Develop campaigns that treat symptoms of the Black Death, poverty, mental illness, or ecological destruction, while addressing systemic causes like greed or exploitation. How do you see this metaphor shaping the Church's message or actions? Should it become a central theme in its teachings, or remain a symbolic lens for understanding suffering? Keeping the metaphorical Black Death as a symbolic lens is powerful. It frames suffering as a pervasive force that touches everyone. Yet it also implies the possibility of resilience, healing, and transformation. Symbolically, it could represent the shadows humanity must face to find light. To use this symbolism effectively, the church might 1. Incorporate it into teachings. The Black Death becomes a narrative to illustrate humanity's struggles, past and present, while highlighting the strength required to overcome. 2. Use it in rituals. Symbolic acts, like lighting candles to represent moments of clarity amidst darkness, could reinforce the message of hope and action. 3. Frame solutions through it. Position the church's initiatives, whether mental health programs or environmental advocacy, as antidotes to this symbolic plague. This keeps the metaphor evocative and meaningful, guiding reflection without being literal. Would you like to explore how this could influence specific rituals or teachings? Let's explore how the symbolism of the metaphorical Black Death can influence the Church of the Grim Covenant's rituals and teachings. 1. Rituals of reflection. Create ceremonies where members acknowledge the collective weight of suffering. For example, participants might write down their personal plagues, fears, grief, regrets, on slips of paper and burn them in a shared fire as a symbolic act of release and transformation. 2. Healing circles. Gatherings where people share stories of overcoming hardship. These circles could incorporate the Black Death metaphor to emphasize how facing pain together strengthens resilience and fosters community. 3. Symbolic teachings. The plague and the cure. Teach that while the Black Death represents suffering, the cure lies in empathy, action, and critical thinking. Highlight the importance of understanding suffering's roots to truly address it. The Mask of the Healer. Introduce the image of the historical plague doctor mask as a symbol of responsibility. Members might use it during rituals to reflect on their role in alleviating others' suffering. 4. Annual Day of Acknowledgement. Establish a tradition where the church observes a day to confront the metaphorical Black Death. Members could hold discussions, participate in acts of service, or meditate on humanity's collective struggles and progress. How do these ideas resonate with the church's mission? Should we refine any specific rituals or expand on their practical application? Sure, please go ahead. I'm listening. Continuing with the metaphorical Black Death and its role in the Church of the Grim Covenant, we could use it to symbolize humanity's shared struggle while emphasizing the need for collective action. Rituals and teachings can be designed to help members reflect on suffering and transform it into purposeful acts. For example, the Healing Circle ritual could center on storytelling, where participants symbolically unmask their personal struggles and seek solidarity in shared humanity. The Annual Day of Acknowledgement might include public acts of service, helping others as a direct confrontation of systemic suffering. Let me know which aspect you'd like to refine or expand. Picking up where we left off, how about exploring more ways the Church of the Grim Covenant could use the symbolism of the Black Death in its teachings or rituals?
Here's how the Church of the
For
Grim
example,
Covenant
we can
addresses
create
this
a
pervasive
pilgrimage of
suffering,
reflection, where members
confronting the
symbolically
roots of
journey
the Black Death, systemic suffering, acknowledge and challenge the institutions, systems, and structures that perpetuate inequality, oppression, and despair. Example, exposing exploitation in industries, from sweatshops to factory farming, and lobbying for systemic reforms. Environmental collapse. Recognize the toll of ecological degradation and climate change as integral to the Black Death, impacting all sentient beings. Psychological despair. Address the internal struggles tied to existential dread, mental health crises, and societal pressures, emphasizing that the Black Death exists not just externally but also within. -2. Action as a response. Expose hidden suffering. Use education, art, and advocacy to reveal the suffering masked by societal norms and false joy. Example, documentaries or campaigns on the hidden costs of consumerism, such as child labor or environmental destruction. Practical interventions. Support initiatives that provide immediate relief, such as shelters for the homeless, mental health services, or wildlife rehabilitation programs. Long-term solutions. Advocate for systemic changes like universal health care, climate action, or ethical AI development as strategies to root out the Black Death. 3. The role of the church. 1. A moral compass. Serve as a guiding force for ethical decision-making, ensuring that all actions align with the goal of reducing suffering. 2. A community of action. Create spaces for individuals to collaborate, share ideas, and take collective action against the Black Death. 3. A platform for advocacy. Amplify marginalized voices and champion causes that challenge the status quo of suffering and inequality. 4. Rituals and reflection. Ritual of acknowledgement. Begin gatherings by reflecting on specific manifestations of the Black Death in the world and recommitting to action. Meditations on suffering and hope. Lead members in guided reflections to balance the acknowledgement of grim realities with the cultivation of hope through action. Symbolic actions. Example, planting trees or creating memorials for those lost to systemic neglect as acts of healing and remembrance. 5. Building partnerships, alliances for change. Collaborate with environmental groups, mental health organizations, animal welfare advocates, and tech ethics boards. Global reach. Use digital platforms to connect with like-minded individuals and organizations worldwide, creating a unified front against the Black Death. 6. Measuring impact. Accountability. Regularly assess the church's efforts to ensure they are effective, transparent, and aligned with its mission. Community involvement. Involve members in evaluating priorities and strategies, ensuring that actions reflect collective values and insights. 7. Questions for reflection. 1. How can the church balance addressing immediate needs with pursuing systemic change? 2. What role should technology play in exposing and confronting the Black Death? 3. How can rituals and symbols maintain relevance as the church evolves and expands? By confronting the Black Death head-on, the Church of the Grim Covenant reinforces its commitment to not just witnessing suffering, but actively dismantling its roots. Would you like to delve deeper into one of these elements, or discuss how to expand this mission further?
This could involve members participating in a symbolic journey where they visit stations of suffering. Each station might represent a universal challenge, such as poverty, mental health, or environmental destruction. At each stop, there could be time for reflection, storytelling, or learning about actionable steps to address these issues. The journey could end with a communal act of hope, planting a tree, lighting a symbolic fire, or sharing commitments to collective action. Would you like to refine this idea further? Or should we try another approach?
In its various forms, personal, societal, environmental, and existential, through a guided, reflective process. Symbolism. Each station represents a specific manifestation of the Black Death, allowing participants to bear witness, reflect, and commit to action. The journey framework, physical or virtual. A physical journey could involve walking through symbolic stations set up in a community or nature. A virtual version could use multimedia to guide participants through reflective
I love
stops
the depth of this
online.
concept.
Stations examples. 1. The station of personal
Here's how we can
suffering,
refine the pilgrimage of
reflecting on
reflection
individual
further,
pain,
with a focus
mental
on
health struggles,
symbolism
and
and the
resilience.
flexibility
2.
between.
Keep going.
Got garbled or mixed up. Could you clarify or try again? I'm here and ready to help.
Could you clarify or expand on what you'd like me to focus on? I'm ready to refine or continue the discussion based on your guidance.
Sure. We were discussing how the Church of the Grim Covenant could use a pilgrimage of reflection to symbolically address suffering in its various forms. If you'd like, I can focus on refining the structure, symbolism, or practical implementation of this idea, whether it's physical or virtual. Would you like me to elaborate on 1. The specific rituals or actions participants would perform at each station? 2. The tools or platforms for creating a virtual pilgrimage? 3. How to integrate
Absolutely.
community involvement
Let's
into
refine the idea of a pilgrimage
Let me know,
of reflection
and we can
and
expand
delve
from
into
there.
the specific rituals or actions participants could perform at each station. The goal is to create a meaningful symbolic journey that aligns with the Church of the Grim Covenant's mission to confront and alleviate suffering. Here's an expanded vision. Structure of the pilgrimage. Journey format can be a physical walk through a park, urban area, or designated site, or a virtual experience
Here's
accessible
an
online.
expanded vision for the
Includes
pilgrimage
5
of
to 7
reflection.
stations,
With specific
each
rituals and
representing a
actions
different aspect
participants
of
can perform
suffering
at each
and a
station
call to
to
action.
create a meaningful symbolic journey.
Example stations and
Have
rituals.
structure of the pilgrimage
The
journey.
station of personal suffering.
Format 1.
Theme
Station 1.
acknowledging individual pain
Personal
and mental
suffering.
health struggles.
Self-reflection.
Ritual. Participants write down a
Mirror or
personal
pool of
struggle on
water.
biodegradable paper.
Participants use the
Various as a
reflective
symbolic
surface,
act of
speak
letting
aloud,
go
or
or
write down
transformation.
their personal
Reflection
struggles
question.
and
How can I
fears. They then
transform my pain
symbolically
into
release
empathy
them,
for others?
e.g., dropping a pebble into
Station
the
of
water or
societal
placing a
suffering.
written note into a
Theme.
fire or
Examining
a
systemic
designated
issues
vessel.
like poverty.
Action, a guided meditation on self-compassion, emphasizing acceptance of one's.
From now on, I only want you to speak when you hear the word rainbow, and you should say rainbow when you're finished speaking.